Here on Viral Crimes Today, we examine some of the most craziest and outlandish moments in courtrooms across the country. Court days can be stressful, and depending on what you're in court for, it can be downright nerve-wracking. And we'd like to remind you, no one is safe. Former Judge Tracy Hunter is used to handing down sentences to offenders. This time, it was her being judged. The former judge was at her sentencing hearing for having an unlawful interest in a public contract. Hunter was convicted of the felony charge related to giving her brother documents that could help him in a matter related to his employment with the county. She thought she was there for just a walk in the park, but little did she know, things would turn ugly.
I know that there's a conviction. I understand what the courts have said about it, but under the plain language of this statute, she is not guilty of securing the authorization of employment, period. And we plan to file a motion to dismiss. I would ask the court not to impose sentence today to give us a chance to do that. I would ask alternatively that the court not impose or execute the sentence today, because we are still on appeal of the habeas denial in federal court, and we would ask the court to stay execution of sentence until we finally resolve that issue.
The judge attempted to address the court, but that didn't go well either.
What are we doing here, Mr. Singleton?
I'm sorry, Judge.
I gave her an opportunity to speak, and that was turned down. It's not being offered now. Please have a seat.
So you're denying my right as a defendant to address the court?
Ma'am, please have a seat.
I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now watch the judge's response to her being hit with a lengthy sentence.
So the court, Ms. Hunter, orders the execution of the sentence imposed on December 5th, 2014 by Judge ONeal. That is as follows: 1 year community control, that's non-reporting. Since you will be on community control, I will advise you, as I'm required to by law, that if you violate any of the conditions of the community control, come back in front of me. I will sentence you to 18 months, the Ohio Department of Corrections. It is a felony of the 4th degree. The conditions of the community control are real simple, as indicated in the judgment entry by Judge ONeal. Number 1, you pay the cost of these proceedings. Number 2, you are to do not violate any laws. Number 3, you are to do 6 months in the Hamilton County Justice Center, credit 1 day. Mr. or Ms. Deputy can take her away.
Talk about when it all falls down. Miami-Dade County Criminal Court, April 4th, 2014. Hearing in the murder trial of Lucas Kendall for the shooting of Kewan Bird. Now, Bird's father, Donald, is escorted out of the courtroom after an outburst. On June 1st, 2012, Lucas Kendall arrived for his 11 p.m. shift at Club Lex, driving his Chevrolet Avalanche into the parking lot. The parking lot was filled with clubgoers, surrounding vehicles. Standing beside his truck, Kendall began strapping on his gear for the night: a black bulletproof vest with 2 clips and a shiny metal security badge, a holster with a nightstick, black gloves, a Glock 19, and a 17-round magazine. After parking his truck and getting organized, Kendall noticed 2 men inside a gray Ford pickup backed into a space next to his own truck. Kendall, a former 190-pound bodybuilder nicknamed Juice, later said they were watching him menacingly and rolling what he thought was a blunt. Kendall, who was 26 at the time, walked over to greet 2 colleagues from Force Protection Security, then went back to his truck to retrieve his cigarettes, he later told police. Kendall said he was approaching his truck when the 2 men, both of whom were African American, opened their doors simultaneously. Kendall, who was white, told police that one of the men shouted, "I'm gonna kill you, ninja," while the driver, Michael Smathers, looked like he might have been pulling something upwards. He also said both men appeared to be making motions with their hands. There were no words even exchanged, he said. "We never said a word to this guy at all. The only thing I remember was opening my car door and him telling me to put my hands up." Kendall pulled his Glock out of his holster and began shooting. The shots came quickly, at least a dozen according to an autopsy report and statements Kendall later made to police. Kiwan's father was so overwhelmed with rage, he had to be removed from the courtroom.
He need to go to prison. He don't need to be laying no mental hospital. He need to go to prison, man. Come on, sir. He wanna play crazy. He wasn't crazy when he murdered my son, man. He wasn't crazy then, but he crazy now. All of a sudden he crazy now. You wanna lay in a mental hospital? You done murdered my son, man, for nothing? When he was trying to get away from you. You trying to get away from you, man. And you kept shooting him while his back was under the truck. You kept shooting him, man. You kept shooting him in his back. His back was turned to you, man. He was trying to get away from you. And you murdered him, man, like that. You murdered him, man, like that. Why you doing it like that, man? And you want to play crazy, man? He ain't crazy. He ain't crazy, man.
Ronnie ONeal III was in court for the brutal murders of his 9-year-old daughter and the mother of his 2 children in 2018. His son barely survived the attack and lived to testify against his father at just the age of 11. The judge had some scathing remarks after the man represented himself in court.
"I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do." All right.
Listen, stop.
All right.
Listen to me.
You're not
going to raise your voice again.
I'm not going to raise my voice again. I'm not.
I will have you removed from this courtroom. I can sentence you without you being present.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't conduct
I
yourself.
understand, Your Honor.
Thank you.
But I will say, I'm sorry for your loss.
19 years I've been at this job. I've seen human beings killed at the hands of others in every way imaginable. You name it, I've seen it. Shootings, stabbings, drownings, suffocatings, blown apart by cars, DUI manslaughter cases, horrible things. This is the worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go.
And Ronnie ONeal III seemed to enjoy the spotlight as he actually defended himself.
Mr. ONeal, you need to speak audibly so that the jury can hear what you're saying.
He showed you a fraudulent recording where they allege that I beat Kenyatta Barron to death. He talked about Mr. Khalil Brown, my neighbor who stayed across the street. But if Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about one thing that he saw that night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen. And like I told you earlier, you will know the truth, whether in this trial or the next. Better believe it. If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God damn it, I'm not.
All right, Mr. ONeal, please stop using swearing language. It's not appropriate in a closing argument.
When they fired the person from fire department, when he testified, and when he said that he retrieved the body of Ronnie ONeal from the home, and all he could do was sob. He took every ounce I had not to start sobbing too. Because there is no way any person with any feeling could have witnessed or seen the photos of what occurred that night and not be haunted for the rest of your life. I know I will be. For the rest of my life, I'll be haunted by what I saw as far as the evidence and just the abject cruelty of it all. The abject cruelty. And I was aware, because I reviewed a lot of the discovery ahead of time, as you well know, did a lot of in-camera inspection of a lot of documents. And I was aware there was some evidence, at least, that when you needed to recover from your gunshot wound, that neither your parents nor your Aisha, Miss Robinson, would let you come recover at their home. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm not going to get into a dispute. I'm just mentioning there was some evidence referencing that in the reference. And all I could think about, because I knew that Miss Barron was not with you romantically at the time. And I knew that she just out of the goodness of her heart let you come stay with her. And it is beyond tragic that that critical decision ended in so much horror for her and for her children. It is unspeakably cruel what happened as a result of that one decision. The way that Miss Barron died was horrific, and that 911 call, which captured truly all of it. You heard, and everyone who's heard that 911 call heard a death scream. If anybody ever wants to know what it sounds like before a human being dies, knowing that their death is imminent, that's exactly what it is. That was a death scream.
We're going to see if it's true.
But what happened to little Ronivia and to little Ronnie, but I'm going to focus on Ronivia, because she was special. And you could tell Miss Barron had done everything she could to create a beautiful home for her family. I noticed that the Ronivia's bedroom, before you set it on fire, you could tell she tried so hard to make her feel like a princess. Kenyatta did everything she could. And I noticed too in the kitchen, on the refrigerator, she put up magnets that said faith, love, family, hope. And then you know what else happened to that refrigerator during that night? It got splattered with blood all over it due to what happened. Little Ronivia, she couldn't scream, she couldn't run away, and she witnessed what you did to her mother as far as shooting her mother in the arm with a gunshot. She knew. And the horror that that child suffered. And she already had a life where she was born with challenges regarding her physical and her mental disabilities. But the pain and suffering that she suffered that night at your hands, unspeakable, absolutely unspeakable. And at the moment, that first time you struck her with that hatchet, and little Ronnie testified that all he could see was tears coming out of his sister's face. At that moment, that child knew. She knew she was being betrayed in the cruelest, most tragic and sorrowful way that a child could ever be betrayed. She was being betrayed by her parent, the one person that should be there to protect their children and love them and keep them from harm. And that was the last thing that child felt before she passed on from this earth, was your utter, cruel betrayal to her. And I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true or not, I have no idea, but I read somewhere that souls pick their lives, and that they know exactly how difficult their lives are going to be before they enter into this work. And I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, Ronnie ONeal is one of the bravest souls I have ever come across in my 54 years on this planet. One of the bravest ever, ever, because she suffered so traumatically.
Now later, the jury found O'Neal guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. He was also found guilty of arson, 2 counts of aggravated child abuse, and resisting an officer without violence. Nico Jenkins. The viral killer Nico Jenkins dished out millions of views because of his ominous look and his dark past. His entire family were menaces, and it's no wonder he turned out the way he did. He was convicted of going on a killing spree and committed 4 murders in Omaha, Nebraska.
What I'm about to do, the sheriff office and you guys need to be honest with me. Because if we're going to make this work and get this closure for this family, you're going to have to tell me what you have and what you don't have. That way I know if I have to go get it for you, because these are my cousins. Okay. These are my 2 family, the ones that were in the house that day. Okay. They're brothers, but the one of them, you think I'm a mental case. He's a severe mental case. He has documented being in Lincoln Regional Center, Psychiatric Hospital. See what I'm saying? So, he goes into it, like even when y'all arrested me, I don't know if you were on the team, but he was acting up and they were pulling us out the house.
Jenkins, a safekeep from Douglas County, reportedly swallowed a set of keys over the weekend while in prison. His sister is extremely upset. Some state leaders say it's a systematic failure that should already be fixed, and one is calling for the prison director's job.
That should have never happened. And it was very disturbing to hear.
Sophia Jenkins, Nico's older sister, says when she tried to visit her brother in Lincoln on Sunday, she couldn't believe why. She tells KMTV exclusively that her brother was strapped to a bed by corrections staff when he grabbed a set of 7 handcuff keys and swallowed them.
It really did. It was disturbing. It was heartbreaking, and it was unbelievable. Like I couldn't even imagine it. Like, really? He swallowed some keys, and then let alone 7 keys.
NDCS says staff tended to him and he didn't need to go to the hospital. But on at least 10 occasions in the last year, Jenkins has harmed himself by cutting his face and tongue and mutilating his genitals with razors and other objects. One item he used to cut his penis was a guard's badge.
Therefore, this panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant. It is therefore the sentence of this court as follows. At case CR 13-2768, count 1, murder in the first degree, a class 1 felony, death. Count 2, use of a deadly weapon, firearm to commit a felony, a class 1C felony, 45 to 50 years to run consecutive to all murder convictions at counts 1, 4, 7, and 10. Count 3, possession of a deadly weapon by a prohibited person, class 1D felony, 45 to 50 years to run consecutive to all murder convictions at counts 1, 4, 7, and 10, and count 2.
More than a dozen police officers dragged 38-year-old Kwayahuru Govan into a Brooklyn courtroom this morning.
I have a right to stand in court. I have a right to stand in court. No, they don't want to stay on these.
Govan was scheduled to be arraigned on murder charges for the 2005 beheading death of 19-year-old Rashawn Brazil, whose body parts were found in trash bags inside a Brooklyn subway tunnel. But Govan refused to be fingerprinted.
I'm remanding you. I will see you tomorrow. My case can't prove by this date that doesn't move. My champion, I can't breathe.
Govan is also facing murder charges for the 2004 dismemberment of 17-year-old Sharabia Thomas.
Can we do a fair trial in Jefferson County? But then another part of it is, if we have a concern, what's the alternative? Because then if we might get into a situation on the wall where I'm supposed to weigh the pros and the cons. Ma'am,
Look at me.
Ma'am! He keeps tiring. Ma'am, I told you once before, let me please help you understand.
you can't just talk out like that, okay? If you can't handle him looking at you respectfully, all I can tell you to do is don't be in my courtroom, because he's going to keep doing it, particularly now that he knows that it irritates you. So you either are able to control yourself or you're not. And I would understand why you could not. I get that completely. But I can't have you talking up in court, okay? I need you to hear this. The next time it happens, there will be a consequence. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Rhodes, you're smiling. I don't know why you're smiling.
Because I can.
Well?
Because I can. It's not a crime to smell.
It's not a crime.
Continue what you were saying.
But it doesn't help you, all right, to irritate people.
All right.
And you have a lot at stake in this case.
It's not a crime to smell, is it?
I didn't say you were clean.
Okay, then.
I'm saying you're not helping yourself.
Continue what you were saying.
I'm
allowed to smell.
I would suggest you do what helps
Okay.
you, not what hurts you.
Okay.
That's
Do what I
all.
want to do.
Well,
Let's
do
get
what
that
you want to do.
understood.
That's fine.
Let's get that understood.
I'm sorry.
Let's get that understood.
Well, you made
All
that
right,
abundantly
continue what you
clear.
were saying about the motions.
Okay. I'm saying I want to have a hearing on it, and we'll be happy to give you a date when we can come back and talk about that. Is there work we need to do to be ready for that hearing, or we basically have what work needs to be done?
Judge, we haven't received their motion.
But we haven't filed the petition yet. Judge, we wanted to have a date from Your Honor. We have some exhibits. Some of them may be lengthy, so we're trying to get all that.